There's a criminal trial going on right now of a Democrat state senator in Minnesota, and the facts are wild. Minnesota Senator Nicole Mitchel has been charged with first-degree burglary and possession of burglary tools for allegedly breaking into her stepmother, Carol Mitchel's, Detroit Lakes home. Prosecutors say she entered through a basement window using a crowbar and flashlight, was found dressed in black, and had a laptop in her backpack. Senator Mitchel's defense is that her stepmother, Carol Mitchel, was disposing of her late father's things, and she went over to check on her well-being. And really, who among us doesn't bring a crowbar when checking on our relatives or in-laws? Judge not, lest you be judged. This part gets really strange. After Senator Mitchel broke into her stepmom's home, she didn't leave. She laid on the floor next to her stepmother's bed. Her stepmother then woke up and stepped on her. Carol Mitchel has Alzheimer's. While on the stand, Senator Mitchel claimed her stepmother was lying. Take a listen.
So if Carol Mitchel told the 911 operator that she stepped on somebody, you're saying that she's lying?
I am. Sometimes to protect family members, you have to lie.
To protect family members? Senator Mitchel also explained to the prosecution why she felt the need to tell the police she was a military commander.
When you said you're going to find out I'm a military commander, for God's sakes, is that fact or fiction?
Fact.
Okay, what was the purpose in telling them that?
I think that's when it was dawning on me that, just any interaction with police, I would have to tell, and also, I think it was just like, I'm not this crazy person.
The "don't you know who I am" argument doesn't really get you far when you're under arrest for burglary. Senator Nicole Mitchel says this is all about concern for a family member, retrieval of sentimental items, not theft. So we are left wondering, can someone commit burglary if they don't leave? This entire fiasco has had significant impact on politics and policy in Minnesota, where without the vote of Senator Mitchel, Democrats don't have the majority. They hold a 34 to 33 seat edge in the Senate, and they've had to adopt new rules to allow Senator Mitchel to vote remotely while at trial. We're getting word now that she was just convicted. Are they going to let her vote remote from prison? The GOP filed a motion to expel Mitchel from the Senate in the wake of her arrest, but she was able to cast the tie-breaking vote to stay in office. I guess it was the burglar's veto? It's quite interesting. Minnesota needs to start electing better leaders. They've got a governor who ran on putting tampons in men's bathrooms, and now we've got a senator convicted for burglary with sentimental feelings and crowbars all intertwined. Senator Mitchel now faces sentencing where she could get up to 20 years in prison. That verdict was something. Joining us now to provide legal analysis on this extremely bizarre case, managing partner at M.R. Parker Law, Michael Parker. So we're just learning that the defendant was convicted. How would you have defended this case?
I mean, I think the defense she had was the best one she should get. So she was charged with first-degree burglary and possession of burglary tools. Now, first-degree burglary is the unlawful entry of a dwelling with the intent to commit a crime. Now, most people think of burglary as breaking in to steal, but that's not what burglary is in Minnesota. It's breaking in to commit a crime. Now, in this instance, the defense was arguing that she broke in to check on the welfare of her stepmother, Carol, who had Alzheimer's. And the state was arguing that Nicole broke in to steal property that had belonged to her father, who had passed away a year earlier. So, when you talk about what you can challenge, obviously she had unlawful entry. She broke in, she had a crowbar, she was wearing all black, had a flashlight. She came in through a basement window. There's no defense there, right? Obviously it was a dwelling. Carol lived there. And there's an aggravating factor, which was that Carol was there. And that also increases the penalty. So the only part that they could defend was the intent. And the story they put together, I think, was the best they could do. And I think there was a 50-50 shot at conviction. And unfortunately, Nicole was convicted. But what they were trying to argue is that she broke in to check on how Carol was doing. And the facts that supported that were that she went upstairs to Carol's room. She checked her phone to see if everything was working properly, if text messages had been deleted. She also went to the computer to check Carol's medical records to see how her Alzheimer's were doing. So that was, what they could do. Now, the state had just stronger evidence. When the police came to the home, Nicole told the police that she knew she did something bad. She also told them she had come to get property from her father, and no time during their 40-minute conversation between the police and Nicole did she say that she was there to help Carol or do a welfare check. So I do think they put on the best case they could put on, but I just think the facts were so strong against Nicole that there was no slam dunk defense here. It was 50-50. They tried their best, and I think they put on a good case, but the state's evidence was just better.
You noted this 40-minute discussion that the defendant had with police following the event. That comes up repeatedly during the trial. Is this a mistake a lot of defendants make, where they believe if they explain their intentions to the police that will inure to their benefit, when in a lot of cases, such as this one, it turns out to be evidence for the government against them?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you are being investigated for a crime, shut your mouth. I mean, that's the best advice. Any criminal attorney who knows what they're doing will tell you, do not talk to the police under any circumstance. And it's not even because you might be guilty. Sometimes you might say something that's completely innocent, but out of context, it sounds guilty or it sounds bad. And now what Nicole was arguing is that she didn't want to scare Carol. She didn't want Carol to know she was there to check on her welfare. So she made up the fact that she was there to get her father's possessions. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, and no one will ever know. But the problem with that is that it made her look guilty. So even if she was telling the truth, that, the statement she made was to protect Carol's mental state, and so that Carol wasn't frightened, she was there to check on her welfare, the fact that she said it to the police is what really got her. And I think that was the strongest piece of evidence against Nicole in this case.
It also struck me as super weird that she went and laid down next to the bed of her stepmother. It had me wondering, can someone actually get convicted of burglary if they don't leave? If they just just sort of move in for the evening. And here you explain the elements well. In Minnesota, I guess departing the burglary isn't necessary to create any sort of mens rea around that offense.
I mean, it really depends on what you're doing when you're staying there, right? So, you need to have intent to commit a crime that is independent of the burglary. So the burglary itself, the breaking in, cannot be the underlying crime to show intent to commit burglary. So let's say I have a hypothetical friend named Jared, right? And he lives in New Jersey, and, he's a lawyer, didn't do well, became an alcoholic. And I go to his house to check on him. And I knock on the door. He doesn't open the door. I go around the back, and, I open the sliding door and kind of break in and check on him. He's on the couch. He's passed out. Now I call the ambulance. They come, they take care of him. And while he's, waiting for the ambulance to come, I lay next to him and kind of soothe him, right? That would not be burglary. Even if I stayed there all day waiting for the ambulance, that would not be burglary, because my intent was to check on his welfare. And even if I stayed for a prolonged period of time, that would not be burglary, because me waiting around to make sure he was okay wouldn't constitute the intent that is required for a burglary conviction. Now, if you stayed there too long, it might turn into a trespass. There might be other types of crimes you could be charged with that are independent of the burglary by just being on the property. But, I've never heard of someone breaking in and just moving in indefinitely. And I'm sure prosecutors could get creative to figure something out there.
Yeah, it's sort of like, how do you plan that out? Okay, I'm going to go get my ninja dark outfit. I'm going to go get my flashlight. I'm going to go get my crowbar. Then when everything's done, I'm going to lay down in the bed, beneath the bed of my stepmother. If I am ever found in the home of my in-laws or relatives with a crowbar, I am hiring Michael R. Parker to defend me. Thank you, as always, for coming on and sharing your expertise.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. And it was a pleasure once again.